it. I'll keep loving you, keep looking after you, and keep checking on you like a ghost from your past, your fantasy is like. Your fantasy in black.
Hi, welcome. It's Friday night. Friday night. Bada bada bum ba bum. And tonight we are launching the amazing video Hot Machine by none other than The Liar from Basement Labs. Say hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Bam! So
Yeah.
we've been chatting for a bit, 10 years or so, actually.
Hey. Hey.
I was actually thinking that this is going to very possibly get into tour stories, because you're going to be joining me again in a month or two,
Yo.
and that's probably just going to be talking tour stories and stuff. But in the meantime, Mike, what's going on?
Oh, man. So we are still in recovery mode from a bunch of releases that we did around the holidays, including the Ignorance Cartel VHS tape, which the Basement Labs put out. We are starting to wrap up on Sad House, which has been our weekly show for the past year. I think we're going to take a break from it.
When do you actually stop Sad House?
I don't know. That's kind of up for debate. I think we might do. What month is it now?
It's 1978. I don't know what year it is anymore. February.
Yeah, I think maybe there's 4 Sundays in March. ? Yeah, let's look at that. And yeah, so I got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I got 4 Sundays in March. So I think the last 4 Sad Houses are going to be these next 4 shows. Yeah.
I'm listening to you.
5 shows, yeah.
Tell me more about. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. Yeah,
I want to hear about your sexy fixation. Hi, that's my. I want to hear about your sexy fixation with VHS tapes.
Sure. Yeah. I just love the crinkle and the squeak. Crinkle and the squeak really gets my gears going. You know, you take an old dirty tape and you put it in one of those automatic rewinders, and it just. Sorry, I lost myself for a second there.
You're losing me as well in this tumble of squeak and sex talk. Tell me.
That word.
Oh yeah. So, what is it? The smell about said VHS? Is it the way that they distort stuff? What is the sex? Tell me.
So let's take a quick step back. So my partner and I run a micro label called the Basement Labs.
Right.
We've been running the Basement Labs since about 2003, but for the past 5 or 6 years now, we've been doing limited runs of VHS tapes. So we've done 50 and 100 tape runs for about 45 releases. We've done 45 releases with different artists, either artists that are audio-visual artists or compilations of video art. And the idea was, I had been touring with Angel Spit as a VJ, and then I had been doing a lot of VJ performances in New York, but I don't really have a fine art background. And a lot of the shows I was getting booked on with like fine art video artists, and they really only had like Vimeo to exhibit their works. And it's difficult because, you know, as a musician, like, you make a record, you make cassettes, you make CDs, you make vinyl. If you're a painter, you paint a thing. If you're a writer, you have a book. But there wasn't really, like, optical media had already been sort of phased out, and there wasn't really an opportunity for a video artist to hold the thing and be like, this is the thing I made. And I had fallen in with a group of single channel video artists, you know, like people that weren't doing projection mapping or VR stuff, like people that were making works to be displayed on a single screen. But they had been reappropriating vintage equipment. So they were like, you know, they were doing the same stuff that we were doing on tour, where they were running it through video mixers, and they were doing distortions, and they were splitting cables and circuit bending gear. So a lot of that stuff lent itself to exhibition on VHS. And then VHS has some unique properties. It's tape, it's magnetic. So like, you can pull a tape from 1987 off the shelf and you can still play it, and the data is there. You can get an image, and it's a pretty good image. So the idea was, there were these ephemeral works that weren't designed to be ephemeral, and now they had slightly more permanence. So someday when YouTube goes away and no one remembers Vimeo and Facebook is gone and Tumblr is a distant memory, someone will open a box in their basement and find a VHS tape, and VCRs will be plentiful, and VCRs will continue to be accessible, and they'll be able to watch these video works that have been deplatformed or been lost.
I have a theory that VHS machines breed like cockroaches in the sewers.
I've seen it.
I actually think that, like, cassette tapes grow into VHS tapes, and then they mate and become VHS players.
Yeah,
that's what I think. That's brilliant, and this is actually something that blew my mind with the VHS release that we did with you. When I say we, I mean you and me, because you're still technically part of Angel Spit. We need to make that clear. And everybody who has anything to do with bloody Wikipedia, Mike is still a member of Angel Spit, for God's sake. Okay, so what you did for us, it was really interesting, because the Ignorance Cartel was all about the algorithm. One of the big things about it was the algorithm, and I'm seeing so many people getting shut down by the algorithm. I am seeing votes being changed by the algorithm. I am seeing censorship being put in place. Constantly stuff's getting blocked by the algorithm, but not on VHS. Yeah. Like, if you sample a track, if you put a sample of it of a preacher or a news item or a thing from a movie, your track will probably get flagged and probably get blocked by muted by Twitch and YouTube and Facebook. But if you put it on VHS, they can't touch it. And it sounds really logical saying that, but because I'm so brainwashed by, data washed by the bullshittery of fucking the great algorithm, to me that's insane. To me that is like, that's like hacking. It's like, it's a life hack. It's an art hack. I can put anything I fucking want on this tape, and those fuckers can't touch it. I mean, like, obviously it's not going to be, you know, shitty, racist, hurting kids stuff, but, you know, I can say any message I want, and they can't fucking touch it. And that blows my mind.
Well, so I had this conversation a couple of nights ago, and I think it's interesting. So punks of a certain vintage, we are used to sort of plunderphonic and sample culture. Like you and I both came from a place where like we were cutting up magazines and making zines and going to the copy shop, and we were running stuff off on Xerox, machines. And we were able to create these things really quickly and really cheaply. And sort of like, and we were sort of immersed in that. And like, there was a lot of like sampling and sort of plunderphonic and recontextualization and industrial and hip hop, which are,
it's brother and sister.
Exactly. Yeah. They are much more linked than people give them credit for. But then we were our own means of distribution, which was, which up to a certain point, carried us to a certain point. And then, obviously, our colleagues and us, we had to move beyond that. Something that I think is really interesting about the algorithm. So like back in the day, let's say I have a 4-track and I've got my busted 909, I've got a 303, and I've got like a really, really lo-fi sampler, and I'm making tracks, and I make a cassette, and then I duplicate that. I make 50 cassettes, and I see you at a show, and I'm like, hey, you got funny hair, I got a funny hair cut thing going on. Here's my fucking tape. And that's cool. And it was person to person, and it was really direct. Now, with things like the algorithm, we're able to find our people really easily. It's like you type in a hashtag, or you look at your favorite band's Facebook page and you can see everyone who likes that band. So finding our people is really easy, but the means of distribution is disruptive. So instead of like, it's like, I see you, you're in Wichita and I'm in fucking, Port of Spain or some shit like that.
Seriously, can you hear that?
Yeah.
Please keep going. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I found you and I are tribesmen, but I can't hand you my zine. I can't hand you my cassette.
Yeah.
I have to put it, like I have to hand it to the algorithm, and then the algorithm might choose to serve it to you or not.
Because the algorithm knows what's best.
Yeah, like the people, so I posted the flyer for this talk tonight, and the people that responded were not the people that I thought would have responded. And then the people that I thought for sure would be into it had no idea. They didn't even see it. And there's really no rhyme or reason, and there's no control over it. It's not like putting up a show flyer at the coffee shop, or, going to Trash and Vaudeville and leaving a bunch of flyers. Like, yeah, it's weird how it's disrupting it.
It's funny that you saying that, like, also, firstly, magnetic tape has longevity. Like, it's a data storage that is, it doesn't matter if the codec for a WAV file or a fucking MOV file gets updated, which they do every couple of months. I can't read new MOV files. But magnetic tape's always magnetic tape. Ampex is eternal, man, I'm telling you. And it smells so good. And it's funny what you were saying about, I have a friend, Lux Voltaire, who's one of my oldest buddies in Australia. And Lux Voltaire is someone who industrial music, unfortunately, they're not really ever going to know about him. He's fucking brilliant. He started Tanked. He's the guy that started Tanked. And Tanked is one of the most important real EBM bands there are. I remember when I met him, he stuck a tape in my hand, and there was a whole bunch of stuff that he had made, and then he drew the artwork.
Right.
Every tape had its own, his board at home drawing the artwork. And what you say is so true about, sure, there are CDs, and CDs are kind of the same, but there's something special about tapes. And and also with zines. I mean, like as you said, Angel Spit started from a zine distro called Vox Populus, and I still do zines. I don't do as many, anymore because the the magic of making a zine is it's getting harder to do that. The well, actually, I lie. It's not. It's getting easier. I can print them out of my. I've still got a long arm stapler. Do you have an Angel Spit tattoo on your wrist?
Oh yeah, you've
Dude, when
seen
did
it.
you get that?
I got this in like Williamsburg like 4 or 5 years ago. I was
Wow.
walking down the street and it was cold out, and the tattoo artist was out front of the shop. He was like, "Hey man, $50 tattoos, whatever you want, bro." I literally typed in Angel Spit logo stencil.
There it is.
I couldn't remember what the actual logo was called, and you're not going to be able to see it on this with the background and stuff like that, but it's actually got the stencil.
Yeah, I see it. It's the stencil mark.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, firstly, thank you. I don't have an Angel Spit tat. I actually wanted to get, because every album's got a little logo, and that's the logo, but that's also the logo for Nurse Grenade. And I wanted to get, remember how World War II planes would line up their kills? I wanted to have every album logo there.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you do it, then I'll get the ones in the same spot on the records that I contributed to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And now this is interesting. Like, okay, thank you. But then that also gets into the very interesting idea of, stenciling and. Because before we went live, we were having a chat about how hard it is to put on a show online in this current day and age, and for people to actually turn up and watch it, and it's very disheartening. And there's my cat. It's really disheartening. She reacts to light. Come on. Da 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 da. I want you to talk for 30 seconds about the importance of handing out flyers and doing shit analog.
Yeah. So I don't want to make it seem as if I'm some sort of like crazy Luddite. Without the internet, I would not have the deep release and being able to stay connected, especially in all of this shit. The internet is very useful, but I think that there is a certain amount of human physical contact that we're lacking in these shows. Like, if I am the only one home and I go to like an internet live streaming show, like there's a 100% chance I'm not going to get laid. Like, absolutely will not get it. Or like it, I think back to like the club nights that I went to, like the weekly club nights that I went to, are like the really great shows I went to. And they were like a little sexy, a little dangerous. And like, they definitely like, maybe it took me an extra half hour to find the place because it wasn't a fucking venue. You know what I mean?
Down
like,
a fucking alley, for sure.
And you never know, like the really, really good nights are the nights that you aren't expecting to see the people that you see and to do the things you do. Like the nights that you remember are the nights where shit goes sideways and you're presented with a question, yes or no, and you say yes. And like, you kind of know what you're getting into when you go, when you're streaming a live show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Keep talking.
Like,
I'm listening. They're listening.
So, yeah, I think that's been sort of the problem for me. And then playing those shows too, because it's like I'm in my home studio. I have my gear. I know, like my backline is my backline. It's my gear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like it. I think it makes it less less exciting because it becomes less dangerous for both the audience and for the performers.
Yeah. How do we make it more exciting, make it more engaging, make it more dangerous?
Well, I don't want to sound like an old guy, but the older I get, the more interested I am in the conceptual. Like, I don't want to just run out there and play 3-chord punk. I saw a really great performance. So there's this group Clipping, which again is the intersection of industrial and hip hop, and I love them. And they've been staging some really interesting performance art pieces, and they're really taking advantage of the streaming. And I'm trying to remember. So they did a performance of a piece by. Oh, come on. I'm trying to remember. Here, let me. I know this is very.
No, that's fine. While you're doing that, if you're watching this on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, fuck Facebook, jump on over to Twitch because that's where the cool kids are hanging out.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Mike.
So Clipping did a performance of an Ania Lockwood piece. So Ania Lockwood was a performance artist from 1968. I don't really know much about it. One second. And they literally lit a piano on fire, and they set up a bunch of cameras and they filmed it burning. So it was mic'd up, and it's a piece. It's like a thing that, like, if you're getting your master's in whatever esoteric danger music, like you write your dissertation about this. But like, they are a hip hop group, but they still did this thing and they live streamed it, and now it's available to watch on YouTube. That's like a playback.
That's great.
It seems like, yeah, like lots of people have staged this performance, but I think the fact that they are just the fact that they're going out of their way to tee up this stuff to perform. Like, they're still performing, but they're not. Here, one second.
And I'll just say very quickly, I just realized they look like Dr. Evil.
Yeah, just
Austin Powers, because I've got a cat on my lap and everything.
Yeah. There we go. Ah. Sorry.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Either that or I look like one of those guys from Cloud City in Empire who like are receiving Lando Calrissian's instructions.
You're talking about Lobot.
Lobot. Yeah, that guy. I need to watch Flash Gordon again. Oh, let's talk of VHS. And welcome Wicked Fairy and Summed Holes. It's always weird saying people's names who are on Twitch because I always get them wrong. Badsy, good to see you again. Diana, you are a rock star. Mike, give me lovin', baby.
Yeah.
All your hugs and kisses too.
Oh, baby. So I'm thinking that really, like, the sexy guy or the like really edgy girl behind a set of turntables is not sustainable.
Ha! Wow.
And I think we really have to sort of embrace the medium and try to really think about it conceptually.
That's
like what's a thing?
Go ahead.
Yeah, like what is a thing that we can do that's live streaming that would be forward thinking? And you know, it's like and then it becomes sort of like it's like the gamification of live music. Like I'd love to see us like I'd love to see your like acoustic unplugged session where it's like you, a sampler, a drum machine, a single vocal processor, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like super stripped down. Like
Yeah.
really sort of operate in those parameters.
That's interesting because a lot of the music I'm doing at the moment is one synthesizer, one drum machine.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And that's really kind of a breath of fresh air. That was a very good rant. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's also serendipitous is that Daft Punk'd.
Oh man. Oh, you're talking about that band. They only had those 2 records, right? It was Discovery and Homework. And
My
then
God.
they disappeared, right?
No, they also did This Is the KLF as well.
Yeah, I love that theory, mostly because I think KLF are shit and I think Daft Punk is shit. So
Fuck
like
you! Stop saying
whatever.
that.
Yo, it's like
I
literally
love that shit.
my favorite little piece of like lore of sort of like EDM lore
My God.
is the fact that Basement Jaxx had a night called Basement Jaxx, and they invented Big Beat, and they were doing breaks, and they were like really doing something new at the time. And these 2 French kids kept getting like sort of into trouble sneaking into this club. And finally, one of the kids went up to one of the cats from Basement Jaxx and was just like, "Hey, we have a tape. Can we DJ sometime?" And they were like, "Sure." And it was the kids from Daft Punk. And I don't like Thomas Bangalter, whatever the fuck that dude's name is. That dude's nice. That dude's good. The Stardust stuff, amazing. Those first 2 Daft Punk records, really good house records. Like, but I don't know. They're like put on this pedestal that I like never quite understood. They're like the monkeys of, you know, dance music. And it's, yeah, I don't know. I get really salty about it.
You done?
But, yeah.
All right, good. So, if Brian Eno was doing a stream, what would he do? Because if you say you don't like Eno, we're going to have a big fucking problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Brian Eno would do a singular stream. I think if anything, he would do some algo stuff where like there would be generative video art that's like informing some live streaming audio stuff, and it like wouldn't be a singular performance. It would be like an infinite performance, which is like the types of things that he's done. And there's people doing stuff like that, and I think it's really, really interesting. So here's a really good example, right? So there is this radio station called Wave Farm. It's in upstate New York. You can stream it. Let me see if I can find
Wave Bot.
Wave Farm.
Wave Farm.
Yeah. So and
if you want, yeah, go ahead.
And they are an experimental radio station, but their whole thing is like, we are an FM station, we're broadcasting, we're also streaming. And anybody who has a work of art that takes advantage of the fact that it is being transmitted through the air is welcome to like come do a residency there. So like there are people that are doing experimental radio broadcasts in like the truest sense. Like they are pushing the boundaries of that medium, this old medium. You know, you had the Experimental Television Center, which was like a UHF television station or a VHF television station, and it was literally run by crackpots, and it was insane. And like it pushed the medium of video art forward so far. Like there's lots of people that are doing like sort of like their own curated TV movie stations. Like I know like Coaxial Arts has the Cathode Cinema, I think, and there's like some other spots where people are like streaming random stuff. But I'd like to see people take this sort of narrow channel of the continuous digital internet live stream and push that medium in some way. And I don't really know how to do it.
Well, as far as like bands and stuff, we have MTV TV.
True.
I just thought I'd slip in a plug there. And obviously, if you have tracks, get them to MTV TV. Diana, this is your cue to say something about MTV TV. And they're just bloody awesome. But it's I think it's a really exciting time for doing live streams and for like saying, okay, what do we like? Because I don't know how to do algorithm stuff and I don't know how to do all this other shit, but I know how to stick a camera in my face and yell.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm very good at that.
Yeah.
You know, for me as a performer, I'm always thinking, what can I do to, you know, to make things different. I was talking actually to someone who's, you know, starting out on live streams, and they were saying, I'm really good at rock and roll gigs. They're very competent at rock and roll gigs, but when it comes to a live stream, they're sort of going, I don't know what to do. And I was saying, well, that's really interesting because live stream to rock and roll gig is like comparing TV or theater to TV. Because in theater, when you're acting for theater, said the guy, I can't act for shit. The audience, the camera, the audience, the viewer is 10 to 100 feet that way. But in TV, it can be a close-up. And you're always within 6 feet. You're always a hero shot. So the way you act changes. You know, in theater, it's big actions. But with TV, because the camera's here, they don't have to be, you know, it can get the slightest movement of the eyeball and stuff like that. Yeah. And this sort of similar thing is now coming into like live stream gigging where, yeah, sure, this is my tiny fucking room. You have 3 feet by 3 feet, 3 foot by 3 foot, and you have to put on a crazy show. And it's interesting how all of the rules are being challenged. And it's exciting and it's terrifying and it's daunting and it's like, you know, it's not a TV station. It's not all of these things. It's something new. And it's something I like doing, which is something that you originally did on the tour we went on. You stuck a camera on the mic. So I got a setup where I have a camera on my mic. So it's like close call mode. And that's really amazing when you're doing that because I just need to move the mic the tiniest bit and it looks like the room's shaking. And that sort of shit's very interesting.
Something else that I think is really interesting about MTV TV. Did I miss a TV? Is it MTV TV or is it MTV TV?
Yeah, it's MTV. It's MTV TV.
Okay, yeah. There's a curatorial aspect, which I think is sort of lacking. Like when you have so many options, like that's kind of the problem with being on one of the problems with being on the internet is you have access to literally everything. So having someone with sort of with curatorial practice who's like really focusing on this channel and sort of like moving in this sort of lane, like this conceptual lane, I think is very important and very, very cool. Because it's like, first we had magazines and then we had zines and there was, you know, curation, steps of curation. So like you had like, you know, like a sort of a broad spectrum of topics and then zines became hyper-focused. And then you had blogs, which were even more focused on smaller chunks. And then tweets and sort of things like that. So they've gotten so hyper specific. And I feel like something like MTV TV sort of broadens it and gives us a little bit more perspective. It's not just like, oh yeah, like on Instagram, I follow a feed, an account that's literally just decaying bikes in New York City. You know, and I think that's cool and that's really niche and it's hyper specific. But I think having someone sort of outside of myself who's able to curate things that I wouldn't organically find in a very specific way, I think is like super important. And that's, you know, like for a long time, that's what club DJing was for, you know, like Adam, you know, I've known Adam almost 20 years. That's kind of staggering. I've known him for a long time. And something that we've always talked about a lot is the fact that DJs are curators, and they're, you know, they are like some of my favorite songs I've ever heard Adam played for me, or Daniel Savelle, who was my mentor for a long time, played for me, or you, like being in a tour van, like never having listened to like a lot of Stevie Wonder and hearing like, oh, what's that song about? Yeah, I don't know. Just
These
like,
days.
Yeah, like pretty much. Yeah, just like
Those
listening
days.
to all of songs in the key of life. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like I listen to Black Flag. I listen to Fear Factor. I listen to Aphex Twin. Fucking like I don't know shit about funk, and like having access to someone who's like, you are going to listen to funk now, I think ultimately can be really rewarding.
Mm.
You know, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Pros.
Songs in the Key of Life, by the way, is arguably the greatest album ever written.
You still there?
I sure am. Are you? I've got you. You've frozen, but I can still hear you.
Hey, awesome. I can hear you now. Awesome.
All right. I was just saying Songs in the Key of Life is arguably the greatest album ever written.
Super good. Yeah.
Double album, and it's fucking amazing. And it's crazy thing about it is when you listen to it, and the bands you mentioned, I say this because of the bands you mentioned, they have an influence in what was going on in that album. And I don't want to talk about that album too much, but it's bloody awesome. Thank you, John. Yeah, good shit. Good shit. At this stage, I could throw to a video, or we could just keep talking because I want to wrap this up like in 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're breaking up on my end, so
All right.
Maybe now is a good time to throw to a video.
Okay, I'm going to throw to a video. This is Love to Watch. Love to Watch. That interview that launched the other week.
How many years did they waste staring at the digital void? A lifetime of
I feel like over the past 10 years, I haven't said it enough, man. But
I love
the
you
Cardi
too.
B thing. Yeah,
We're-
shit.
So we're back. That was we just love to watch, and I we have so many tour stories that I want to talk about. But before we do, actually, we'll probably take that up at the next one. Next week, next Friday night, this time next week, we're launching we're launching Hot Machine that you did,
Yeah.
and you're doing some. You're going to do some live mayhem, like you're doing a set.
Yeah,
Mike,
yeah.
what the fuck's going on, man?
All right. So this needs a little bit of backstory. So
Okay.
when my buddy Fox, my best friend in the world, Fox, and I started the Basement Labs, we like had 2 turntables and like a shitty sampler and like a really shitty computer running Sony Acid, and we were making trip hop records. Like that was our thing. Like we were sampling records, and like I that's where I started, and it was like really fucking good. And I got really into film stuff, and that's what I ended up doing for a living. But I've always missed that like gear thing. So this gear thing has always been in the back of my head. And when I started doing the analog visuals with Angel Spit, and then like doing the Video Punks thing, I my creative partner at the time, Hex, was really into laptops, really into Resolume, like MIDI controllers, and I was like, no, I will never bring a laptop to a live gig ever again. So we built out the Video Punks live rig at that time with as much analog gear as we could, and we would fold in some digital stuff, but there was always buttons to press and knobs to turn and faders to wiggle. And so like my day job, I'm at a computer 60 hours a week, interacting with media in this like very fluid, very organic way. But when I'm playing shows, I really want to be gear focused. So a little over a year ago, a couple of years ago, I started buying samplers, sequencers and samplers. And I wanted to find a sampler that I could do all the stuff that I could do in Acid with, but like no keyboard, no mouse. And I got an MPC, an Akai MPC 500, and the learning curve.
You have an Akai MPC 500?
Oh, I fucking loved it.
How long
That's
have you?
my other
Do you
thing,
still
too.
have it?
No, so I sold it to one of our label mates, Slater Clampett, who's been
You
using
mean
it.
the big fucking thing, or the little fucking thing?
The 500 was it had 12 pads instead of 16, and it took 6 AA batteries, but it still did MIDI out, 16 or 24 channel out. I think it only had 4 audio outputs, like 4 buses, but you could still do all the MIDI on the outboard stuff.
Great machine. Go on.
And then I got an SP404, and SP404 is not a proper sequencer. The Roland SP404, it's a really great sampler. And I tried some other ones. There was like some Yamaha sort of Rompler sequencers that weren't super fun. But then I met a girl and fell in love, and her name is the MC101.
There it is.
Yeah. So I started making trip hop beats with Vinny from Video Punks, who is my current creative partner. And Vinny comes from sort of a hip hop trap sort of vaporwave background. We met in the vaporwave scene. So we were making some hip hop stuff. And we were playing these Sad House shows together. So I tried to make some hip hop stuff, and it didn't quite gel. And I tried to make some house stuff and some techno, and it didn't quite gel. And then I just kind of said, fuck it. And I have a bunch of friends that are like pretty active in sort of the drum and bass and the like footwork scene. So it's like 160 BPM influence from like Baltimore club, but then also like on the jungle side, like chopped up drum breaks and like lots of like, because I was like a jungle guy. I was a drum and bass kid. I've got like a Ronnie Size tattoo the size of a CD on my leg, and like I've always been listening to reggae. I've always been listening to dub, and like sort of the jungle thing when I was first getting into electronic music. Really fast breaks and really dubwise bass lines like really made sense to me. So I kind of had a come to Jesus moment a couple of weeks ago, and I turned out like maybe like 14 jungle demos that I'm winnowing down into a set. So I'm going to play an all hardware set next week, all improv. So it's all going to be live triggered, mostly just to see if it's possible. Like I have this theory that with just the MC101 as a sequencer, with the built-in effects, with the built-in patches, with the built-in sampler, you can create entire live sets and be able to trigger them in a way that's not just pressing play on the DAT and sort of jumping around.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
sort of, yeah, it's going to be like manual transmission DJ sets. But then like when you look at something like early KLF or Orbital or like Underworld, which is my favorite. Like
I'm glad about that. If you had a problem with Underworld, we'd have a problem.
Oh no, Carl Hyde. I have like
Carl Hyde's a genius.
Oh man.
He's a genius. There it is.
Yeah. I fucking love him. But Rick Smith, like, you know, it is 2021. It is the 21st century, but he still has an entire mixing desk in front of him, and everything is playing back digitally from like you know, everything is routed through this digital mixing desk, and he is playing he's playing the recording studio. You know, like Kraftwerk, when they were interviewed at the beginning of their career, it was like, what do you play? And they'd be, and their answer would be, we play the studio. So, you know, Rick Smith, every night they rebuild the studio and he plays it. So I think, I'm not saying I can create Pearl's Girl on this, but I think, you know, all you really need for dance music is really 4 channels and a whole lot of fader tricks. So I'm going to try it out.
I think that's a fantastic idea, and I absolutely endorse this message. I think that it's so critically important for an artist to embrace chaos and put themselves in the front line of accidents. Because the problem with digital technology is, and the quest for perfection, is you lose the quintessential thing, which is accidents and the human way of getting out of that burning fucking car, putting the fire out and pushing it along the track to get back in the race. And before you know it, you're not driving a car anymore. It's something out of Mad Max. Yeah, man, for sure. Fucking totally.
So yeah, it's going to be a trip. It's, yeah. I've never done it before. You know, I've been DJing since I was 18 years old. But yeah, the number of times I've performed all originals, it's probably 2 or 3 times in that time. Like, you know, I played with other bands and, you know, I performed with Angel Spit, but yeah, I don't know. It's a new thing for me. So I'm stoked.
This is exciting.
Yeah.
I think that is a fantastic point for us to launch this damn video.
Yeah, buddy.
Mike, will you do me the favor? Will you do me the honor and call this thing in? And then once we're done, we're all going to raid over to MTV TV. Mike, call it.
Hey, so this is the live from Angel Spit, and coming up next, we've got Hot Machine from the new Angel Spit record, The Ignorance Cartel, available on CD and VHS over at Angel Spit's Bandcamp. Rock over London, rock on Chicago, Wheaties, it's what's for dinner.
Fuck yeah!
If the pain persists, consult a model with a knife. Cause a beautiful assassin gets the job done right. They say they won't die for corporate greed, but they'll enforce it with their life. Guaranteed. Robots killing robots ain't nothing new. God ain't fixing this, and neither are you. I've got a fantasy of you, short skirt, heels, black, dancing on the tabletop, screaming empty the vault and put the cash in the bag. I'm gonna buy it right on the shit of you. I'm gonna buy a droid in the shape of you. Make it do with the things that you won't do. I'm gonna buy a droid in the shape of you. Make it do the things that you won't do. I'm gonna buy a droid in the shape of you. Make it do the things that you won't do. Pleasure dough, out of control, hot machine. Pleasure dough, out of control, hot machine. Pleasure dough, but you can still watch. Hot machine. Pleasure dough, but you can still watch. Hot machine.
Coming soon to own on video cassette.
You wanted to know who and what I am? I'm a killer. You wanted to know where I'm from? I'm from Connecticut. Mayflower Stone. I was taught that my prince would come, and he would be a lawyer, and I would have his children. And on the weekends we would barbecue. And all the other princes and their princesses would come. And they would say, delicious, delicious. Oh, how boring. So come on, who's next? Who wants to teach me? Are you afraid? You're right. Because they're all dead. All my teachers.
Liquid Sky.
Why would any